Good afternoon, or wherever you may be. This is Joshua Smith. I have the esteemed pleasure of serving as the Director of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion at Leading Age California. And this is our celebration station. Today, we have a very special guest. This special guest before I read his bio, I want to let you know that he also serves on our equity cabinet. Our equity cabinet is this advisory board that advises the work that we do in our diversity initiative. He's one of the more faithful ones. He's the one I love to see get on the chat. He always has fantastic commentary. Welcome, Dan, to our space. Just a bit about who he is. Dan is the Associate Director at Aging Equity Project at Human Rights Campaign Foundation. Human Rights Campaign Foundation leads a long-term care equity index for that. He's a proud Chicano transgender man. He's a gerontologist, and he has over 10 years of experience in aging and in the LGBTQ plus advocacy fields. He mends all of his experience in the aging fields with his former work as an academic and his dedication to advocating for the work towards equity for that respective community across all aging spectrums. Dan, welcome to the Celebration Station.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for offering a platform to celebrate the work that we're doing at HRC Foundation and really get the word out there of how we can support others in their own, DEI initiatives and really bringing belongingness into their communities and organizations. Yeah.
It's a very important conversation. It's very important. And we here at Leading Edge California has taken it up as something that's very important to us and our members. So we're very excited for you. We have just a few questions, and when I mean a few, it's just that many, just a few. And I want you to kind of walk through these. You have this fantastic tool that you've been working on, and I want you to say a little bit more about that. But before you get into the tool itself, can you tell us a little bit more about where you work in the community that you serve?
Most definitely. The HRC Foundation, we are the educational arm of the country's largest lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer civil rights organization. And at HRC Foundation, we envision a world where people of all sexual orientation, gender identity can be seen and welcomed in their home, with their family, in work, in religious fields. And I have the pleasure of working in the aging services sector. We've been around for about 40 years and work with a number of partners nationally in order to help support what it means to be inclusive for the LGBTQ plus community.
Wow, fantastic. That's quite robust. Can you say a bit about your DEI initiative? I know the whole organization is tailored towards representing an underrepresented community, especially in the backdrop of what took place in Colorado a few weeks ago, to timestamp this interview. Can you say more about how this initiative impacts our particular industry, that is being geriatric community?
As you were saying, the vast majority of our work revolves around inclusion. But the reality is that LGBTQ plus people have so many intersecting identities. And it looks different for an LGBTQ plus youth accessing services, support, compared to an older adult, someone 65 plus who is an LGBTQ plus elder. And so recognizing that as LGBTQ plus people age, less likely to be partnered, less likely to have children, so they need support. And so what we've done is recognize the gap between service providers, specifically in the aging field, as well as elders themselves, not being able to meet in the middle of what it means to be inclusive. We have folks that are scared of accessing housing. We have folks that want to support and provide the care. And so the long-term care quality index is what has come of that. Also known as the LEI. So we like to throw around acronyms, but the LEI is actually the nation's first national benchmarking system for senior housing industry.
So, really quick, Dan, say that one more time. Say that again.
The long-term care quality index is the nation's first benchmarking system for senior housing industry and providers. It helps organizations to assess their policies, have resources, as well as participate in a biennial survey to see where they stand in LGBTQ plus inclusion, have the resources to improve it, as well as help outreach to the greater older adults that identify as LGBTQ.
Wow. So how can our industry more specifically take advantage of this resource? What's the desirability around this resource?
So for folks that are in the specific aging housing sector, so anything independent living, skilled nursing, memory care, even affordable senior housing, they can connect with us at thelei.org to learn more about our project. But it's a free project in which folks can access webinars, review their policies, and ultimately get a report out of where they can grow and what they're doing well. Because the reality is that this is a fairly new thing for this sector. I've been in the aging field for about 10 plus years, started in long-term care. And so it is a way to really help people to learn what it means to support elders, but then also have the very real support of reviewing policies, telling you what languages are acceptable in there. So, folks
Wow.
getting engaged in that way, as well as just, reaching out to your local LGBTQ plus community and asking, what do you need? And
Yeah.
giving you an insight what to do at your own spot.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And then again, I told you quite a few questions. This is the final one. What impact, friend, what impact do you see this tool that you've been working intensely on having on our nation, more specifically, the folks who I have the pleasure of serving, the folks here in California, as they try to become more equitable? What's the impact that you want to see happen?
We've seen a lot of growth, especially in California, when it comes to inclusive policies, the implementation of training. But the reality is that there's still great fear and discrimination that folks have experienced that identify as LGBTQ plus, not just now, but a lifetime. And so it does necessitate providers kind of taking a step forward to say that we are inclusive, we have the policies in place. And so in terms of the impact, again, this is the first national effort, the first opportunity to have both HRC and Sage, our partner, be the voice of LGBTQ plus aging and be able to connect folks into what is housing near them, because we all deserve, choice, especially when we're talking about long-term care communities, because it's not just receiving health care, it's your home. And so we're, here to support people in really directing their person-centered homes and environment towards LGBTQ plus folks.
Fantastic, Dan. I'm so very proud of the fact that you get to serve on my board, advise the work that we do. But I'm also great that you're doing the type of work. This is very important because regardless of how you use and what genitalia you have the dignity of aging. You have the dignity of being in spaces where they can respect what you want as a person. And we as an industry are incumbent to try to do some of that work, and I thank you for the work that you're doing. Any final comments just for any of those who may stumble upon this video and want to get in contact with you or want to your LinkedIn or want to follow the work that you're
Yeah.
doing? Yeah. So
You
how
know,
can any final comments?
one thing that I think is very important in our work is really recognizing that we all deserve to age with dignity and respect, regardless of who we love or who we are. I think that's what calls people into this industry. And I'm, always happy to connect with providers, with elders, with residents, with, folks of all uh, backgrounds and interests in order to support, participating and increasing the number of communities, number of organizations that say, not only do we see you LGBTQ plus elders, but we are taking the effort to be here for you. And I think it's an exciting time, and thank you all to listen and learn more about our project.
All right. Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you so very much. Those of you who are tuned in, come back here next quarter. We'll have a fresh new celebration station and where we celebrate all the initiatives that are taking place around increasing the equity in our industry. This is Joshua Smith, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.